Before we begin today's video, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsors at ECG Designs 13. They are your one-stop shop for all of your clothes and accessories, from shoes, shirts, jackets, and hats, all the way down to books and watches and blankets, even all the way down to pins. As you can see right now, I am actually sporting one of their baseball tees, which is a stitched up smiley face, which, believe it or not, is supposed to be a background story to how the creator used to work at Walmart, and it just goes way deeper into that. I would definitely say it is absolutely worth looking into, and I would definitely say it's worth following all of their social media and getting a hold of them, so that way they themselves can personally tell you all about the different designs that they have. They have almost 1,000 different products that are on their site right now. So many different kinds of designs that I guarantee it will range from anything from like melting pizza to broken clocks, digital foxes, and, as you see, stitched up smiley faces. Guys, it gets weird, but it also gets super freaking cool over at the site. So I would definitely say go check them out over at ecgdesigns13.myshopify.com and go get you some new gear today. What's going on, everybody? My name is Plugs Bunny. I am a Jacksonville, Florida rapper who is also one half of a collective here known as the Rabbit Hole Sounds. It is fantastic and wonderful to meet each and every single one of you, and welcome to Movie Reviews on 94.13 Productions.
Timster the Great is about to turn it up a notch.
On today's review, we are actually going to be taking a look at the 1994 hit known as Airheads, starring Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler. I should also probably note that it also stars the late and great Chris Farley. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've never seen this movie before, but I've been wildly aware of it for years now, like a very long time, just due to like memes and all of that. I always found it funny whenever I saw the memes that was like, if you don't know who these three are, then you don't know what real metal is. Just for like the longest time, I always thought it was kind of funny because it's interesting to see Steve Buscemi not look like a total mutant too much in this. Don't come after me, Steve Buscemi, please. But it's interesting to see everyone just young and in their prime, including like a pretty young Adam Sandler. This movie was actually pretty interesting, I'm not gonna lie. It almost seems, I can't even say almost, because I know it's very satirical. We're talking about the up and comings and the inner workings of a band that's just trying to make it, and stations who have some kind of control over what all gets heard versus the innermost workings of like the operations when it comes to dealing with the everyday radio operations. So it's pretty crazy to see that there's a movie like this that can, to me, be on the same shelf as a movie like Almost Famous, right? Because what you're essentially doing is you're taking a movie that has something to do about a hungry rock star or hungry rock stars, and you're really trying to see what makes them tick. You know, you're really trying to see that they're willing to go through absolutely anything and everything to make it. They're small town people trying to live in, you know, the bigger city so they can get a bigger feel of what it's like to have these bigger dreams, and they just want a record label. Well, people should probably know by now in 2023 that to get a record label is probably one of the craziest things that you can do, unless you're willing to be in forever debt and you're okay with doing a 360. But at this point in time, not too many people really knew about that. All they wanted was the very quick exposure, and they were willing to pretty much do anything that they could to get said exposure. It's very interesting because in this movie, what they do is they essentially do some very daring things just to get their, as Brendan Fraser's character, whose name is Chaz in his movie, says, I just wanted to be in here for 3 minutes and 31 seconds. That's it. Wasn't supposed to go this far. I just wanted to play my music. And when they finally get a chance to play their music, everything that could go wrong goes wrong, and it does not get any kind of better. Things don't happen fast, but when you look at the runtime, it's pretty quick, because it takes about a good 20 minutes for a lot of crap to hit the fan. And it is one of the most hilarious things that I have probably ever seen. It deals with like musicians just trying to get their music heard and for them to be taken serious. I compare this to Almost Famous because when it comes to that movie, it was about a boy who just wanted to be a part of, you know, the music circuit as far as like covering the band goes and really letting you know what everyone is missing out on when they're not, you know, with these individuals. Not these individuals, but they might as well be, right? They're individuals that come together to make a band, yes, but then when you see that they all have their own type of personality that could conflict with it, it almost seems very individual with this movie. So you've got Chaz, who is, I could only assume to be someone from either the Midwest or someone just from like a straight country who aspired to be a rock and roll star, who was a loser growing up. Let's call a spade, because I'm still a loser in my own ways and shit, but it's all about, can you be happy with it? You know, do we need to chase everything that everyone else has? But in this case, to Chaz, yes, it's absolutely worth it because he makes his way out to California. He has two friends that's played by Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler. Steve Buscemi, who plays as someone named Rex, and then you've got Adam Sandler that plays as Pip. So Steve Buscemi is the bassist of the group, Adam Sandler's Pip is the drummer, and Brendan Fraser's Chaz, his name is Chester. Like I said, he was a loser and it does get exposed at some point in time. He is the lead vocals and he is the guitarist of the band. They get into the station and all Chaz is trying to do is he's trying to get his music to be heard, and he gets kicked out. Simple enough to understand that it's just a typical shit. And then he gets home, he tries to tell his girlfriend, who's like just something else. She kind of sucks. She essentially kicks him out and like breaks up with him or something like that, because she just says that he's a loser, he's not gonna make it, there's just no way at all. So he winds up living with his two friends, Pip and Rex, and they figure, okay, today's the day we're gonna go up to the radio station and we're going to finally submit our demo and we're gonna get heard. People are going to love us. Well, it doesn't go at all how they plan, because they wind up sneaking into the studio and they wind up going to talk to the DJ that was previously at a show for a band that they had just put onto the radio, and that band had just got signed. So they're like, okay, this is how we do it. We're gonna go in there, we're gonna play our music, we're gonna get a record deal, it's gonna just be perfect, bing bang boom. A series of unfortunate events happens where they get into the booth and they start talking to the DJ, and the DJ is like, no, you know, you're on some other type of time if you think that you're about to come in here and, you know, tell me how I'm about to run mine. And, you know, words are exchanged, and of course Steve Buscemi's Rex, being the hothead that he is, he decides that he's gonna pull out an Uzi out of his bag. He's gonna just start threatening the guy and all this crazy crap. Now keep in mind, this is when the movie goes absolutely tits up, because now Rex has a burner. Nobody other than the three stooges know that these guns are props. They're water guns, they're plastic, but the whole time they have everybody convinced. Just they're selling the hell out of it. It's going crazy. It's getting really hectic now. And now they played a record, but then the tape gets destroyed by the player. And then from there, they decide that they're just gonna bolt, right? Like they just say, screw it, we're not even gonna put up with this. It's just not in our best interest to be here now that everything has just gone, as I said previous, tits up. Now they're trying to leave, but they're mildly surrounded by cops, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So now the boys have absolutely no idea what they're gonna do until they decide that they're gonna start taking the entire studio hostage. So now there's negotiators that are coming in, and one of the cops that's with the negotiator is Chris Farley. And, you know, typical Chris Farley fashion, he's made to be the butt of the joke, and it's okay. It's Chris Farley. You know, it would be like if it wasn't him, but like Rob Schneider, or if not Rob Schneider, then like Pauly Shore, right? The role was meant for somebody goofy and slapstick. I couldn't see someone like Jim Carrey on this, because this is definitely below Jim Carrey. And I understand that Chris Farley is something higher up than Jim, but it's still the thing of like, this is something you can't see Jim Carrey do. This is something that you can perfectly see Chris Farley execute, and I mean, oh my god, he delivers. So there's a whole lot of like filler that goes into it. Like, I'll say Adam Sandler's Pip hooks up with like the ditzy receptionist, and you know, they're really feeling each other, and it's kind of cute, because Adam Sandler's character is like, if this was like the live action Ed, Edd and Eddie movie where they all wanted to be rock stars, Pip would be Ed. Like gravy. He would be Ed. Whereas I would probably say the smartest one would have to be Brendan Fraser's Chaz. So I'd probably say he'd be the double D, but he's like a unhinged yet determined double D. Like, he's determined to see that all of the Ed boys' hard work is finally going to pay off, in a sense where it's like, okay, so we made it, we're finally here, how are we gonna go about doing this? I know what we're gonna do, just follow my lead. That's typically an Eddie move, but Steve Buscemi's Rex is probably gonna have to be the Eddie, because he's very loose cannon, he's very quick to anger, and he's very in your face, and that's a Eddie trait, is to just be all right here. When it comes to Pip and the receptionist, you know, them hooking up, Steve Buscemi's Rex and Pip are trying to figure out how they're going to best look tough and look cool to try to get people more amused into, you know, believing that this is a very hard, very rough, very edgy band. And just a whole lot of hilarity starts to ensue. There's a whole bunch of like new negotiations that are now going down. There's a new idiot cop that's coming up that's trying to negotiate some of the craziest crap, and he's just talking about how his wife has just left him and this, that, and third. It's one of those typical cop moments where you look at them and it's just like, you know, like your wife left you because you were insensitive, and he's just like, oh no, that couldn't have been it, I was just one of those. Anyway, so now they get onto the phone, Rex, Pip, and Chaz, they get onto the phone, they're talking to the negotiator, and they're talking about, we need like nude pictures of B. Arthur from Golden Girls. They ask for a myriad of things, but the last thing that Rex asks for is a record deal, or everything is off. It does not matter. So they managed to try to trick them into sending him a A&R for, I want to say it was Capitol Records. They're asking him questions like, when Van Halen broke up, who did you side with? Or when it comes to a wrestling match between Lemmy and God, who would win? And the A&R was just messing up each and every single answer, because these were things that I guess cops would catch on to, or cops would choose more of, and all that crap. So it's interesting just to know the law enforcement in this movie looks at metal like it's like the ultimate decider of how the dictation will go between like if you're like friend or foe, so, or ally or enemy. So I don't know, it's interesting to see them kind of play around with like this whole power construct of like, if you're on this side of the fight, you're obviously a scab, but you know, if you don't understand the fact that there's like a trick question, then you're even more of a narc, and it's just hilarious. Eventually they're able to get another copy of their demo. It gets brought up to the station, but all this crazy crap starts to happen when you realize that the guns are finally exposed to be fake. And there's a huge thing where everyone tries, or at least law enforcement, once they catch wind of it, they try to break into the studio, but then they hear actual gunshots go off because there's a man in the vent who's been trying to get away from all this crap. He's just been hiding like a weasel, actually has a real life gun, because the cop whose wife left him met him on the rooftop, gave him a gun, and he's like, check in with me like every now and then and let me know what all is going on. Meanwhile, as he's telling him this, he's still telling him about his wife, how she left him, about how he's not crap, and it's just like, I have to talk to you? Oh my god. So from there, the gunshots start going crazy because the guy in the vent starts firing off some rounds, and it scares everybody back. So they're like, okay, they're not fake guns. We have to go inside. Chaz now gets his hand on a real gun, and it's just one of the funniest things ever. Then a real A&R comes up to the studio and tells them, guys, this is the best opportunity you guys are gonna get. You can't buy this kind of exposure at all. You can't. There's nothing that you can do that would make you any bigger than what you are right now. Like, you guys have taken over a station. You guys are drawing up a crowd just because of the rebellious acts that you guys are causing right now. Like, come on. This is the best time out of any to sign with us and all this stuff. But Brendan Fraser's Chaz is irritated because he's like, you've only heard 5 seconds of our song. How are you gonna give us a record deal today when yesterday you kicked me out and you only heard 5 seconds of my song? Now you're here and you want to sign me? Like, that's crazy. But realizing that there's no other way for them to get more exposure than what they're getting right now, because this is considered like 15 minutes of fame, they take the deal. But the only way that they take the deal is if they can find a way to get their music heard. And so what happens is they get a huge stadium set up. They're able to play their music, but it's also it's almost like they're trying to shoot like a music video or something like that. So they're told that they have to lip sync. Chaz is like, we're not posers, we're not losers, we're not gonna lip sync. And that's when a little tidbit about the music industry when it comes to recording music videos, you lip sync. A lot of these bands will lip sync. To be honest with you, a lot of these bands, when they're doing music videos, they will not even, some of them won't even have their instruments on, or they'll have it on, but the volume will be turned down super duper low, because it's more about selling the image than it is really just trying to play, you know, the notes correctly. That's why when you see bands playing live, they'll look one way, but it's totally different from when you saw them in like your favorite music video, where they're actually throwing themselves around and just going crazy. Because when they're actually playing in the moment, they got to be precise and they got to be consistent. So, you know, whatever. But they comply. They wind up doing the show. It pretty much goes off without a hitch, and then they wind up going on tour after their little stint in prison. Once they get out of prison, they finally put out their first album, and it goes triple platinum, and it was pretty cool. It was neat. It was neat to see another movie about the glitz and glamours of wanting to be a rock star. And it's cool to know that movies like these exist, because these can be like true cautionary tales, but at the same time, I don't want there to be a negative connotation to this, but I will say that it really shows the determination of just how far a starving artist is willing to go to just get their music heard, just to be heard, to be taken serious. And it's honestly one of the coolest things, just due to the fact of like, when you don't give up, and when you believe in yourself, and when you believe in your art, and when you believe in the movement that you're trying to create, absolutely anything is possible. There's nothing that anybody can do to you that should be able to deter you from your dreams. My man Chaz in the movie was risking losing his girlfriend, people finding out about his past life, which they still did, and they accepted him, which is always nice. And just he was even willing to risk his own friendships just to keep the dream alive. Like, this is an artist who has gone an entire day with trying to be something, with trying to be someone, and continuously just gets booted and just downed and kicked. But every single time he gets up, snarling, fighting, just doing anything he can to see that his one song, that 3 minutes and 31 seconds of his soul that he said he put into his music, can be played on the airwaves for everyone to just jam out to it. He just wanted people to listen to real rock, to real metal. And you know what? I cannot be mad at that, because as an artist myself, I always find it interesting that people want to listen to good music, and whenever a unknown comes up and they start making music, it's like, we can't give you a chance because who are you? So that's why when it comes to things like TikTok and Instagram and all that crazy stuff, you see people doing the most for little to nothing, just so that way they can get their names heard, their faces seen, their stories explained or expressed, and you know, from there they can get a following. You know, if something like TikTok was around the 90s, this would have been one of the most rapid growing bands that we have ever seen. And I understand, again, this is also satirical, but I'm just saying, if this kind of technology existed at the time where hungry artists were willing to do absolutely anything, I feel like there would be an oversaturation of music now than there was back then. And there really wasn't much. There was enough to keep people happy, but it was never enough to say it was overly saturated. And honestly, with that, I gotta say, Airheads was one of those movies that I'm glad I finally got to watch. Did it move me? Not really, but I will say it was very interesting to see. There was already enough knowledge that I knew about that was there when it comes to dealing with radio stations and record companies, to where it's just like, you know, you gotta move a little bit differently. But I do appreciate the fact that they took the approach to go up there, show their faces, and be like, we're ready to be on that BS. What type of time are you guys on? I respect the hustle. I love the hustle. I love this movie, and I will probably give the movie about a solid 7.5 to 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend everybody go see this. I'm not sure what streaming service it's on, to be honest with you. I spent a good part of my morning going through all of my streaming services trying to find it, and I can only find a low-res version on YouTube, but believe it or not, it's still very passable to where you can have a good time watching it, and I highly recommend it. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, my name is Plugs Bunny. I am a rapper from Jacksonville, Florida, who is also one half of the Rabbit Hole Sounds, and this has been Movie Reviews on 94.13 Productions. I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you next time.